Hey guys, Riley Spanish here. In this video, I've got a large lot that I picked up today to go through. I picked all of these cards up from basically bulk containers for about a quarter a piece, and some of it is for collecting, but the majority of it is for reselling. All of this base set 2 here is because I don't know what I'm missing from base set 2, so I just kind of grabbed one of each thing I saw, and then any rares like Dugtrio. I think there's some Kangaskhan, Electabuzz. Those, having duplicates of them, would just be to sell. I mostly buy and resell rare cards from these vintage sets because they're not all in the best of condition, but usually a lot of them move pretty well for me. Top of each of these stacks of Fossil, Jungle, and Base. Sorry, my dog is a little upset. Anyhow, first edition cards that I want to swap out into my collection, and then pretty much everything else in here is just to sell. I did organize the cards and sifted through them to make sure these were all English. Now, I did buy a couple of Japanese cards today, but that was fully intentional. Yeah, and these range from light play, some of them near mint, and not in these particular stacks, but pretty much light play to heavy play. I don't get them if they're too damaged. Couple of first editions from Fossil, like I said, just for my collection specifically to swap out for unlimited cards, and then everything else is just rares from these sets to sell on TCG Player. These vintage rares, depending on the card, usually move pretty well for me, so I pretty much just sifted out every single one of them I could find, unless they were like pretty damaged. A couple Gengars, but really it's just pretty much a handful of every rare non-holo from all of these original Wizards of the Coast sets here. And then moving on to base, the top 2 cards in this pile are here solely because they're shadowless, Jinx and Pidgeotto. But then the rest of it, once again, is just to sell. The Pidgeotto card does pretty well for me. Certain things like the Electrode, Dugtrio, Beedrill, they'll sell, just not in quite as much of a hurry. Electabuzz sells pretty well, more popular Pokemon, I suppose. I did pick up a couple Pikachus because they were actually in very good condition, so I grabbed a handful of those. One double colorless energy, that was all I could find in there. And then the rare trainer cards from base set always sell really good for me. Bunch of Imposter Oak. Super energy removal always sells pretty fast, and I mean, I'm buying these for a quarter. This card is selling for like $1, but still, I mean, on a scale that you're seeing here for 1 day's worth of picking up and listing and all that, not a bad turnaround. Computer search is a little more valuable. These will be closer to $3 each. And then I think last time I was at this place I was at today, I totally cleaned them out on the item finder card. That card, for like a non-holo rare trainer card, sells for quite a bit, and I'm not sure like if there's a scarcity or something to it, but I've moved many of that card and it always sells really fast, pretty much right away. Now moving on to some cards that are I may have accidentally picked up some duplicates, but I did use the PokeCollector app to check, what I needed for all of these Neo sets. So there's Neo Revelation, just one card from Neo Discovery. I don't know how I didn't have that one. Neo Destiny, I know I have this one, but it's really beat up, so I just grabbed a nicer one. I know I have this Dratini too, but I love the Yukimori Claymation artwork, so grabbed a second one just because I want to have as good a condition one as I can, and that one looked pretty clean. rest of this should be stuff that I actually needed to move me towards completion of that set. Nothing too crazy. That Togepi is one of my favorite cards from that set. Then, let's see. Neogenesis, I did pick up a stack of the Pikachu just because I like to have a bunch of, every Pikachu pretty much out there. People search for Pikachu a lot on TCG Player, then they might find that they want a bunch of other stuff that I have for sale on my TCG Player account. So, having that is sort of a way to get people in the door. Or, somebody might just want to buy a bunch of these. You never know. Sales are pretty random how they go. Some people will just buy a single card, pay the shipping. Some people will purchase, 15 to 30 cards at once to try to cut down on what they pay for shipping. But then everything behind those is basically just stuff that I actually needed for the set. And I mean, none of these cards are, something that's going to make me rich or anything like that. They're just things I wanted to pick up. I know I needed a new, better condition of Brock's Geodude. Couldn't remember which one, so I just found one of each that looked good. And then my order that came in with all my Gym Heroes and Gym Challenge, I was shorted one of the Lieutenant Surge's Raticates. I don't know which one, so I grabbed one of each of those. But there's Rare Sabrina. This card sells pretty quickly for me, and this card is over $1 a piece, the Misty's Dugong, and these are all in pretty clean condition, so a couple of LPs and near mints in there. And some Gym Heroes here. There's that other Raticate that I wasn't sure about, and the other two Geodudes, just to be sure I grabbed the correct one that I needed. A couple of rare non-holos to sell. Up here will be Legendary Collection cards. Some of them I know I have, and I accidentally grabbed 2 Sandshrews when really I don't even know if I needed one. But I actually haven't plugged in what cards I do and don't have yet. But the one I'm really excited to have grabbed was this Mewtwo. That was originally a Black Star promo. Yeah, this one I definitely know that I needed. I did not have that, so that'll go into my Legendary collection. Move on to these, all the E-Series cards. I think there's one Aquapolis, and the rest should be Expedition. A lot of these cards I already had. Some of them I didn't, but I always pick these up when I find them, just simply because they're so hard to find. I mean, I pulled out all these rare base set cards from the thousands of cards I looked through, and only a very small handful of E-Series cards. A couple of Team Rocket cards to sell. Dark Jolteon does well for me. A couple of rare non-holos. These Magnetons are a little beat up, but they should sell for a small amount of profit. And then a couple of promo cards here. Oh, and this Pichu back here. It's 2007, so I'm not sure if that's maybe like a platinum. I don't know the set symbols from that era, but I don't know. It just jumped out at me, so I pulled it out of the binder. That's the only not very vintage thing I grabbed. I found one Vending Series promo card, and it's pretty beat up, honestly, because these things came in cardboard. You had to actually punch them out, so not all of them are very well taken care of, but finding it for a quarter is still an incredible price. One of these Mew number 8s, and I found a Southern Islands card that I needed, the Onyx in English. I do have it in Japanese. I did need the English one. This one's one of my favorites too, because it has the Dragonite flying overhead there. Just such a beautiful set, honestly. I love Southern Islands. And then the last little pile of cards I have here are all the Japanese ones that I intentionally picked up. These first 5 are all from the Neo file folder special promo sets that they did in Japanese for the Neos. I think each one was like 18 cards. I think the Skarmory is from Neo 3, and then the rest should be from Neo 1. And then, I don't know, there's a couple of them I grabbed just because I liked the card. Like this Dark Wartortle Japanese, that's a nice one. Electrode from base. Houndour. And then these two I grabbed because if you look at the corner, these have no rarity symbol, which makes, a card that would normally be worth a couple cents worth a couple dollars, actually. Magmar's got a crease in it, but the Bellsprout looked pretty good, actually. But they were the only two no rarity symbol cards that I found. Now, these promos don't have rarity, but that's because they're promos. They were made that way intentionally, but this is not so much an error, but a variant. I guess it was kind of an error. And then two cards that I just really like. I love Lieutenant Surge's Eevee, one of my favorites, and another one of those claymation cards by that artist I really like from the Neo Destiny set, or I believe would be Neo 4 in Japanese, of the Chansey. But just two cards that I couldn't not grab them when I saw them. Anyways, that'll do it for today. Thank you very much for watching, and please consider subscribing.